What's up, everybody? My name is Shannon, and I am still waiting for my Satyr, and today we're going to be talking about Bloodline by Claudia Gray. So I originally picked this book up a couple of months ago, and I just couldn't get into it. There's a thing about Star Wars books where Star Wars is such a grand story. Like, it's very, like, a lot of the times it's plot driven, and, like, there's so much going on, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of characters, that I just don't feel like it translates very well to the books, because in books, like, what I want is more in-depth characters, like motivations, that kind of stuff, and a lot of times we don't get that, and Bloodline is no exception to this. But I will say that towards the latter end of this book, like, once you know where this book is going, like, this book is about the secret of Leia being Darth Vader's daughter coming out. Once you get that, it's very interesting to see what becomes of these characters and, like, how they react and how that sets up the world that we're going to be living in by the time we get to The Force Awakens. So from here on out, if you haven't seen The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, I will, like, put in just a little bit. There are going to be some spoilers, so just be aware of that. But for those of you who don't know, Bloodline takes place maybe like a couple years before the events of The Force Awakens, and it's all about, you know, Leia. She's in the Senate. We see, like, this new republic has started, and it's very much the same as the old republic. There's still, like, stagnation, nobody's talking to each other, there's not getting anything done. We've devolved into the populace versus centrists, and it's just not working out, and Leia really sees this, and she wants to do something, but she can't figure out what it is. And throughout the story, we see her grow close to somebody that's on, like, the opposite party line as her, and they learn that, like, they want the same things, they just have, like, different ways of going about it. We learn a lot about, like, what the Empire has done to people, like what Darth Vader has done to people, the way they think about things in this new reality, and I think that's really cool. What I don't like is that we do run around a lot. There's a lot of things going on. Like, there's this drug cartel, like, all of this stuff, but really, you don't need all that, because what it's about is Leia connecting with this other person, and then once that revelation of her being Darth Vader's daughter coming out, what that does to her reputation and what people think about her and, like, where they go from there, because that very much sets up the resistance forming. By the end of this book, Leia has formed the resistance, and her reasoning for that kind of comes back to that thing that she thought in the beginning, that the government is just beyond saving. Like, she can't help it, so she just creates the resistance. And we do see that the First Order is rising in this book, and I think it's very interesting to see. I do think that it adds a lot of context to how big the First Order is, how far their reach goes, why the resistance is fighting for what they're fighting for, and just like, it sets up a lot about what these characters think about the Empire. Like, we really do talk about, you know, like, the trauma that it has inflicted upon these characters, and I do think that's very interesting. Probably my favorite thing about this book, though, is actually has nothing to do with the plot. So there is one scene where the Senate is about to be bombed, and I won't tell you why, I won't tell you who bombs it, but Leia gets a note, and it's a handwritten note. Like, nobody handwrites things in this universe, and we never find out who wrote it. It was a warning that it was gonna happen, and we do find out that in The Last Jedi, there's a calligraphy set in Kylo's room, so, like, that's his hobby, is calligraphy. So, like, everybody has jumped on this theory that Kylo warned his mom, like, that they were gonna get bombed, and I love that so much because it's just absolutely amazing. But that has nothing to do with the story. Overall, I would say that it is definitely worth the read. Like, if you are a Star Wars fan, it is worth the read. With Claudia Gray, they're gonna be better than most of the Star Wars books. Like, obviously, I absolutely loved Lost Stars. Leia was a book that it was all right. It has a lot of the problems that I do have with Bloodline, but overall, I do think it gives you a lot of context for where we're at with the sequel trilogy, so I would highly recommend it for those reasons. If you're more of, like, a casual fan, you really don't need to know this information, and if you're as much of, like, a storytelling junkie as, like, I am, a lot of the stuff that annoys me will probably annoy you, but I am giving this book a B+. I thought it was really interesting. I am glad that I finally read it because it just gives me a lot more context, a lot more ways to theorize over on Network 1901. So yeah, I'd recommend it. I think it's definitely worth the read. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can talk books with me every Monday. That is everything got for today, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye!